I'm back. We are going to be multiplying and dividing integers today. So by the end of the lesson, you should be able to multiply or divide integers and also know what happens when you divide by 0 or take 0 divided by something else, okay? So what you need to know is that anytime, and you already know this, that anytime you have a positive times a positive, and this also works for division, so know that this also works for division, we always get a positive number, okay? Here's the other case. If you have a negative times a negative or a negative divided by a negative, you're always going to get a positive. But if you have a negative times a positive or a negative divided by a positive, or they're reversed, a positive divided by a negative or a positive times a negative, you're always going to get a negative, okay? Here's a way to think about it. The first one, if I call that a good guy, if you can't remember these rules, if the good guy, we'll call this plus here, wins. This is the good guy, and then plus is winning. If we have the good guy and he wins, that's good, isn't it? We want the good guy to win, okay? But this time, if we have the good guy, and we'll call minus or negative a lose. If the good guy loses, we don't want the good guy to lose, that's bad. Now, if I change the first one to a negative, that's a bad guy. If a bad guy wins, nope, we don't want that, that's bad. And if a bad guy loses, that's good. Okay, one of these ways you need to remember the rules. So if you look at these, -5 times -8, what I do is I look at the negatives. There's 2 of them. We know it's got to be positive, so you can scribble those off if you want. You can get the answer 40. Okay, -7 times 6. I only have one negative. So that is the bad guy winning, so that's bad. And then take 7 times 6, which is 42. Negative times 0. Well, anything times 0 is 0. 0 does not have a sign, okay? I want you to do these 3 problems and bring them back. But let's also do division, okay? The same rules apply for division, okay? So, -63 divided by -9. There are 2 negatives being divided, so that's the bad guy losing. That's good, so we don't even need those. So 63 divided by 9 is 7, okay? 24 divided by -4. There's one negative. That's the good guy losing. That's bad, so we're going to have a -6. 0 divided by -2. Well, it doesn't matter the sign, okay? If I try to take 0 and divide by 2, how many times does 2 go into 0? 0 times. Here's the one that you are going to need to know for a long time. And this is -6 divided by 0. It could also be written like this. Okay? I want you to ask Siri what the answer to that one is. And remind me, we are going to go over it. It's very important. Okay? So bring that one back with you. Now, simplifying. Okay? Simplify means we follow the order of operations. So notice on this problem, it's a negative times a negative times a negative. It's all multiplication. Well, if I take a negative times a negative, that's a positive, isn't it? Times another negative, that would give me an answer that's negative. And then it doesn't really matter how you do this. I'm going to make it easier on myself. I'm going to take 5 times 25 because I know that's 125. And then multiply by 10, that's 1,250. So I get a -1,250. If you look at the next one, now notice this has multiplication and division in there. Which one do we perform first? Well, we go from left to right, so I have to do -2 times -14. Negative times a negative is a positive. We get 28 divided by -7. You write that down, you show me. I got a positive divided by a negative. If the good guy loses, that's bad, so I get -4. Okay? I want you to do this one for me as well. Okay? 360 divided by negative 36 divided by negative 2. Bring that one back with you. Now, there's something else. If I have a negative 1 times a negative 1, I get 1, don't I? But what happens if I multiply by another negative? I get negative 1. If I multiply by another negative, I get positive 1. If I multiply by a positive, I still have 4 negatives and I still get a positive 1. What if I multiply by another negative 1? Well, this answer gave me positive times a negative would be a negative. I want you to come up with a rule on multiplying and dividing positives, not positive, just negatives. Okay? Got a question for you. What do you call a deer with no eyes? What do you call a deer with no eyes? A no idea. Get it? No idea. I cracked myself up.